Picture a song you've loved your whole life. The bass line is the heartbeat, the snare is the footstep, and somewhere between them a right-hand upstroke keeps time like a prayer bead. That flicker on the offbeat, the skank, is reggae's pulse. But behind the legends we all name are the guitar engineers who designed that pulse. The Rocksteady architects at Studio One and Treasure Isle, the Roots craftsmen at Channel One, the dub-lab sorcerers who knew exactly when to mute a chord and when to let it ring. Tonight isn't about frontmen. It's about the hands that made the groove breathe. We're saluting 15 unsung guitar heroes, players who turned 3 chords and air into architecture. From Lynn Tait's crystalline rocksteady chop and Hux Brown's clockwork elegance, to Chinna Smith and Tony Chin shaping the 70s with soul syndicate sway, to touring assassins like Al Anderson, Junior Marvin, and Donald Kinsey welding lead fire to Roots discipline, to the studio lifers, Mikey Mao Chung, Winston, Bo-Peep, Bowen, Dalton Browne, whose parts you can hum even if you never knew their names. We'll cross the diaspora too, the UK dub school with John Piye, the Canadian stadium craft of Carl Harvey, the song-first precision of Wayne Armand, and the fusion intelligence of Stephen Cat Coore, a man who can answer a riddim with a cello or a strat and make both feel inevitable. Ground rules: no repeats, no fluff. For each player you'll get the scene, the signature touch, and one start here cut, so you can hear the technique the second it hits the speaker. Turn the lows up till the kick and bass lock, then listen for the space between them. That's where these guitarists live, and once you hear them, you won't stop hearing them in every classic you love. Let's count down 15-1 and give the architects their flowers.
Yourself from off the ground. Take your time,
Architect of the Rocksteady chop. Before reggae, before even Rocksteady had a name, there was a right hand keeping perfect, glassy time. That hand belonged to Lynn Tate, Trinidad-born, Jamaica-forged, the man who translated calypso touch and jazz voicings into the percussive upstroke that redefined Jamaica's dance halls in 1966 to 67. Producers called him when ska's brisk clip no longer fit the island's mood.
No, no, no. Take it easy, take it easy, take it.
Tate responded by slowing the pocket, tightening chord shapes into muted triads, and letting the bass write longer sentences. Suddenly the dance changed. Hips closer, steps cleaner, romance in the room.
Take it easy, take your time. No need to hurry.
What makes Tate essential isn't only that first rocksteady hits pass through his guitar, they do, but that he codified a grammar. The skank is tone, not just time. Chord voicings that leave space for horns and voice, and microscopic dynamic control. Featherlight upstrokes that still read on cheap speakers.
Get stuck. Take your time, take it easy.
His parts are architectural. He draws the frame so the bass and drums can hang the walls. Listen for the hollow, bell-like attack of his muted upstrokes, quick anticipations into the end of the beat, little two-note pickups that cue the singer.
Take your time, take your time. No need to worry.
Start here. Hopeton Lewis. Take it easy for the prototype. The techniques, you don't care. To hear how the guitar makes heartbreak dance. Clockmaker of Treasure Isle and beyond. If Tate set the template, Hux Brown made it bulletproof. As a go-to session ace for Duke Reed and later a first-call player across studios, Hux specialized in metronomic elegance, chord chops dead on the offbeat, then a sudden melodic answer phrase that glides past the bar line. On Alton Ellis's Girl I've Got a Date, the guitar doesn't just keep time. It waltzes with the vocal, teasing melody without crowding the lead. On Bangarang, he tilts from timekeeper to riff engine, proving the skank can pivot into hook with a half turn of the wrist. Hux's greatness lies in restraint. He rarely strums through the downbeat. He lets air do the talking. Engineers loved him because his tone sat in the perfect mid-band pocket, never boomy, never brittle. Singers loved him because his call and response phrases made them sound bigger. Listen for ghosted 16th note brush before the main upstroke, 2 or 3 note gliss into a chorus, and the way his lines leave lanes for horns and voice. Start here, Alton Ellis, Girl I've Got a Date, Stranger Cole and Lester Sterling, Bangarang, The Jamaicans, Ba Ba Boom. The thread running through ska roots. You can draw a straight line through Jamaican guitar history with Dwight Pinkney as the thread, from Studio One house groups, the Sharks, through late 60s bands, into the 70s roots era, Zap Pow, then sessions galore. Pinkney's gift is taste, an ear for exactly how much information a song needs. With the Sharks behind early Wailers sides, he keeps the skank dry and narrow, letting Marley's voice and Family Man's bass dominate the frame. With Zap Pow, you hear him broaden the palette, clipped wah, double stops, little country blues curls that lift a chorus without stealing spotlight. Pinkney is also a teacher. Many modern Jamaican guitarists learn the mechanics of the chop, the economy of fills, and how to read a rhythm from studying his parts. His lines often double the keyboard bubble in rhythmically offset ways, a subtle glue that makes the whole rhythm section feel like one organism. Listen for economical slides into chord tones, double stop thirds answering the vocal, and subtle swing in his upstroke that softens quantized feels. Start here, the Wailers, Put It On, 65 cut for Studio One. To hear the framework, Zap Pow. This is reggae music to hear his broader color sense.
Know my enemies and I know my friends.
Melody inside the machine. Say Session God in Kingston and someone will answer Chinna. As a pillar of Soul Syndicate, a Wailers sideman, and a first call guitarist for producers from Bunny Lee to Yabby U, Earl Chinna Smith logged hundreds of classic sessions, and on each he finds song inside structure.
Bless, no one curse.
Chinna's rhythm hand is granite, perfect offbeat discipline, but he's famous for slipping melodic filigree between vocal lines, a 3-note answer, a descending pentatonic sigh, a mid-range motif that becomes the take's quiet hook.
Ooh, Jah bless. No.
Chinna understands register politics. He'll voice chords high so the bass and organ breathe. He'll drop to bar shapes when the chorus needs weight. He'll detune attitude, not pitch, to make the rhythm chew a little harder. In dub, where the mix mutes and unmutes like weather, Chinna's lines become wayfinding beacons. You hear a 4-note curl and know exactly where you are.
Ooh, Jah bless.
Listen for little hammer-ons that land exactly on the and chord tones plucked arpeggio style inside a skank, and fills that resolve into the next bar's upstroke, never stepping on the one.
Alright, bless. No flesh curse.
Start here. Soul Syndicate rhythm cuts from the mid-70s. Yabby U productions for the spiritual minor key glow. Wailers live rehearsals where his answer phrases paint the edges.
Town, can't you see? No money, ain't funny. Money for the rich, but no money.
The Flyers feel and the movable pocket. When Jamaican drums shifted from classic one-drop to the mid-70s flying cymbals/Flyers style, the guitar had to evolve too. Tony Chin, Chinna's fellow Soul Syndicate alum, engineered a rhythm guitar approach that danced with those open hi-hats, tighter chord voicings, syncopated double upstrokes, and little anticipations that made the groove skip forward without rushing.
You were for me. No money, ain't funny. If you think it's
On countless Bunny Lee productions, you can hear Chin's right hand stitching hi-hat shimmer to bass muscle. Chin is also a master of tone placement. He dials the attack, so the first transient is soft, the sustain short, and the decay fast. That lets drums own the front edge of the beat while the guitar writes shape over top.
Kind of way.
If you've ever felt a mid-70s hit where the groove seems to levitate, chances are Tony Chin's hand is in the air. Listen for the double tap upstroke on the end of 2 and 4, chord slides that start 1/16 early to tease the ear, and a near percussive choke on bar endings so the drop hits clean.
No money, and funny, yeah. Money for the rich, but no money for you.
Start here. Bunny Lee's mid-70s flying cymbals singles. Johnny Clark Stepper's sides to hear Chin's glide. Early soul syndicate band cuts for the blueprint. Arranger's mind. Assassin's touch. Slide the fader up on late 70s Kingston and you keep running into Mikey Mao Chung. Now Generation, Skin, Flesh, and Bones. The In Crowd. Then Peter Tosh's Word, Sound and Power. He's the guitarist you call when a production needs shape as much as chops. Mao's parts sound simple until you isolate them. Mini arpeggios that outline the chord change without crowding the vocal, muted pickup notes that cue drum fills, and a wah pedal vocabulary that's more punctuation than effect. With Tosh, Mao often works in 2 layers, a bone-dry skank in the mid-range and a second higher, bell-like part that arrives only on choruses to lift the roof. On Black Uhu adjacent sessions, he trims the sustain so the guitar behaves almost like additional hi-hat, gluing syndromes and hand percussion. He was equally lethal on keys. That multi-instrument fluency shows up in how he leaves frequency lanes open. Guitar never smearing into organ, organ never stepping on bass. Why he's unsung. He was a producer's best friend, not a brand. The credits scatter across labels and artists, and the most elegant parts hide in plain sight. Start here. Peter Tosh, Mystic Man, Era Live, or Studio Cuts. Listen to how Mao's second position chords make the rhythm breathe. Listen for wah set low like a tone filter, micro slides into chord tones, and chorus-only octave lines that feel like the room grew a size. Rock lead, reggae discipline. When Al Anderson plugged into natty dread-era Wailers, he carried a rock guitar voice that never bulldozed the rhythm. His secret was time. He aims the attack just behind the snare so a piercing, singing tone sits inside the pocket. On stage mid-70s, his vibrato and sustained bends gave Marley's setlist a stadium horizon without breaking the one-drop spell. Anderson's tone is very un-reggae on paper. Thicker mids, more sustain, but he trims flourish and speaks in song sentences. 4-bar ideas with beginnings, middles, ends. He'll outline the hook rather than fight it, answering the vocal like a second singer. On rhythm duties, he favors short, dry upstrokes that leave air for Aston, Family Man Barrett. When the solo comes, he widens the image and paints the melody in long strokes. Why he's unsung. People credit the Wailers as a single organism. Individual fingerprints, especially on lead, get absorbed by the legend. Start here. Bob Marley and the Wailers, Crazy Bald Head. Hear the snarling motifs and live. 75, era recordings for his sing-through sustain. Listen for behind the beat bends, unison with vocal phrases on refrains, and solos that exit exactly on the bar so the drop lands clean. Narrative lead lines, arranger at the core. Joining the Wailers for Exodus, 1977, Junior Marvin brought a melodic imagination that could extend a chorus or reframe a verse. His leads rarely show off. They tell little narrative arcs that travel through a song's harmonic map and return you to the hook with more light on it. He shifts tones scene to scene. Glassy single coils for verses, warmer neck pickup bloom for bridges, a clipped comping style in the verses that keeps the offbeat taut without turning mechanical. Crucially, Junior thinks like an arranger. He'll place a guitar counter melody where a horn section might sit, or tuck double stops between organ and piano to thicken the mid-range. On the road, his call-in response with vocals made big rooms feel conversational. Post Marley, you hear how his sense of song stewardship, not just playing, helped hold the sound together. Why he's unsung. Joining a band at its commercial peak can blur authorship. Listeners hear Wailers first, Junior second. Start here, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Exodus album cuts. Focus on how the guitar sets up the title track's vocal entries and how jamming gets its buoyancy. Listen for double stop hooks that shadow the chorus, selective use of chorus/phase to widen the stereo image, and a comping hand that never crowds the skank. Blues fire in a militant frame. With Peter Tosh's word, sound, and power, Donald Kinsey poured Southside Chicago blues grammar into militant roots scaffolding. That means vocal-like bends and gutsy vibrato. Yes, but on a leash. Phrases trimmed to bar length, call-in response with horns, and endings that land square on the one so Tosh's message can keep marching. Kinsey's tone is warm, slightly overdriven, and unfussy. No pedalboard gymnastics, just amp and fingers articulation that cuts through without harshness. He'll crack the bar open with a short pickup lick, then fall back into pocket so the riddim carries the chant. Live, he gave the set its cathartic vents, bursts of emotion that never turned the music into guitar theater.
If you don't change it right now.
Why he's unsung. Word of mouth and tour tapes carried the legend. Discographies fragment across live recordings, and his later work gets filed under blues more than reggae, obscuring the Tosh years for casual listeners. Start here, Peter Tosh, Equal Rights/Legalize It. Era live recordings. Hear how Kinsey's vocal-like phrases sharpen the rhetoric. Listen for short, singing turnarounds into choruses, bends that resolve to chord tones, not show notes, and the way he mirrors Tosh's phrasing cadence.
And what we have achieved, poverty, injustice, brutality.
Dub stealth lead, Roots steel spine. Winston Bo-Peep, Bowen is the kind of guitarist dub makes legendary. You might not know the name, but you know the shadows he throws. As a stalwart with the Roots Radics, aggravators, and upsetters circles, Bo-Peep's parts are built for the mix. Lines that survive mutes and delays. Sturdy mid-range figures the engineer can fling across space with a tap of a send. On Roots and early dancehall sides, his rhythm hand is granite accurate. Damp triads that click like clockwork, while his lead voice is intentionally dry, so tape echoes have clean edges to duplicate. In Scientist's classic sessions, the guitar might disappear for a bar, then return as a ghost. One four-note motif repeating into infinity while the bass and drums march.
And here's is a long time, you know, and what we have achieved.
That requires a player who can reduce ego to function without losing personality. Why he's unsung. Dub credits can be cryptic, rhythm section heroes become the band, and Bo-Peep's best work is designed to be felt as architecture more than spotlight.
2000 years is a long time, you know, and what we have.
Start here. Scientist rids the world of the evil curse of the vampires. Trace the recurring guitar figure through the mutes. Early Roots Radics rhythm tracks to feel his time. Listen for bone-dry tone pre-delay, short two-string riffs placed where an engineer can grab them, and skank patterns that never flinch under heavy bass pressure. Musical director in the pocket. If you've ever felt a Freddie McGregor tune slide into place like a perfectly fitted door, you've heard Dalton Browne doing quiet architecture. As guitarist, arranger, and longtime musical director in the Big Ship camp, Browne writes parts that behave. They keep singers centered, bass lines legible, and drums breathing.
Twinkle stars in the night, the wind and the earth.
His rhythm hand is unerringly calm, short, even upstrokes that tuck tight into the hi-hat. Chord voicings trimmed to the mids so the bass can sing. When he steps forward, it's with melodic economy. 2 bars that complete a sentence, then back to work.
For you and me, it took someone as sweet as...
What separates Dalton is bandcraft. Live, he'll revoice the skank between verses, add a single double stop to lift a hook, or lay out to make a drop land. In studio, he leaves frequency lanes open, guitar never smearing into keys, so the mix stays modern even on vintage rhythms.
It's for you, and my purpose in life is...
It's leadership by subtraction, knowing when not to play. Listen for clip triads that sit just behind the snare, little answer phrases after the vocal breath, chorus onset voicings that fatten the mid-range without raising volume.
And my purpose in life is for you. Create.
Start here, Freddie McGregor, Big Ship, push come to shove, then a live Big Ship set to hear how Dalton's decisions steer the whole vessel. Stadium poise, soul phrasing. For decades with Toots and the Maytals, Carl Harvey has had the job no guitarist takes lightly. Make massive rooms feel intimate without stepping on a frontman who eats spotlight for breakfast. Harvey's solution is soul-informed clarity. He bends in vocal curves, phrases that answer Toots like a second singer, then snaps back to a dry, precise skank so the rhythm section doesn't lose its stride. His tone is deceptively simple, just enough grit to be felt at the back of the field, not so much that it masks the drummer's conversation with the bass. Harvey's arranging sense shows up everywhere. In choruses, he'll add an octave figure or a unison line with horns so the room hears lift without a fader move. On bridges, he'll switch to arpeggio comping, letting chords ring into each other so the band can pull energy without losing pulse. It's showmanship built on discipline, stadium ready, song first. Listen for 1 or 2 note hooks that repeat under a chorus, comping that thins out when the organ swells, and behind the beat entrances that make big grooves feel relaxed. Start here. Toots and the Maytals live in the 80s to 2000s. Watch how Harvey's lines guide crowd dynamics without turning the set into guitar theater. Dub minimalism, lover's touch. In British reggae, the guitar chair often borrows from soul, rock, and jazz, but few players balance those vocabularies like John Pai. With Matumbai, Lovers Rock Sessions, and Linton Kwesi Johnson's band under Dennis Bovell, Pai developed a zen rhythm, skanks that clock the bar while leaving a halo of sustain just long enough for the dub to catch. Then, when the story needs tenderness, he shifts into Lover's voicings, soft, honeyed double stops and chord inversions that make a chorus feel like a hand on your shoulder. Pai's genius is negative space. In LKJ's hard, repertorial poems, his guitar becomes the humane aside, small arpeggios, a half-measure descent, a mid-range sigh that warms the steel. On Lover's sides, the same restraint turns into slow bloom melody. He knows exactly when to let the echo unit take over, feeding it clean-edged notes the engineer can fling across the stereo field. Listen for mid-neck triads trimmed so bass and kick speak, call-in response with the poet's cadence. and a faint vibrato that reads even on low-watt PAs. Start here. Linton Kwesi Johnson with the Dennis Bovell Dub Band, live or studio, to hear dub discipline. Then a Matumbai/Lovers rock session for his Sugar with Spine tone. Songcraft as guitar method. With Chalice and later in Jimmy Cliff's touring/recording orbit, Wayne Armand made a career out of doing the right thing for the song. No more, no less.
Go in, but remember Jonah in the belly of the whale and Daniel in the lion's den.
He treats rhythm like typography. Each chord shape carries meaning. Tight, muted chops for verses, wider, bell-tone voicings and choruses, arpeggiated pickups to cue a bridge. When he takes a lead, it's melodic handwriting, not calligraphy, phrases you can hum an hour later. Armand's recordings from the 80s reveal how reggae adapted to cleaner studios and brighter mixes without losing pocket. He thins out the attack, so the hi-hat still owns the front edge, uses double stops to thicken refrains instead of pure volume, and writes fills that resolve into the next upstroke, so the groove never stutters.
The devil and the deep blue water. I know say that when you come on my yard.
In a band context, he's also a blend artist, locking to keys one chorus, then shadowing the bass motif the next, so the arrangement feels alive without crowding the vocal. Listen for micro slides into chord tones on bar 1, chorus width added by simple octave lines, and fills that end exactly where the skank resumes.
It's alright. It's okay.
Start here. Chalice, I Still Love You era and tour footage. Then a Jimmy Cliff live set to hear Wayne's parts glue an international band together.
This video is sponsored by The Lore Store on Amazon, your one-stop shop for music lovers across reggae, rock, pop, and hip-hop. We built it for real listeners who don't want to dig through 1,000 listings to find the right gear. Inside The Lore Store, you'll find 5 aisles. VIP, top, battle-tested essentials. Headphones, turntables, speakers, gig-safe earplugs, smart speakers. Reggae Vibe, Roots and Lovers. Rock Made Easy, automatic decks, warm bookshelf speakers, vinyl care. Rock Lore, classic rock must-haves, open back cans, simple amps, living room concert vibes. Pop Lore, feel-good everyday setups, clean, clear speakers, easy streaming, nostalgia-friendly picks. Hip-hop must-haves, punchy bass without the muddle, closed-back headphones and living room systems that handle low-end, plus a rotating crate of old album vinyl if you're rebuilding a 60s-90s collection. Every product page tells you who it's for, 3 pros, 1 con, and why we picked it. So you can choose with confidence. Flying soon? Check. VIP for noise canceling that tames plane roar. Mostly listening at home? Try open-back headphones that let live albums breathe. Want instant gratification vinyl? Our fully automatic turntable is 1 button from silence to music, and the record cleaning kit knocks down crackle so the bass tightens up. Headed to shows? Grab high-fidelity earplugs. Hands-free at home? Our smart speaker picks let you say, play 70s reggae or classic pop, and you're there. Deal alert! If you use the link in the description, you'll land on our curated picks with current best available Amazon pricing and active discounts where applicable. Prices change, so buy now to lock in today's deal. Tap the link in the description, pick your aisle, grab a favorite, and tell me which category you want me to build next. The Lore Store. Listen better, with gear that gets out of the way and lets the music live.
Fusion Mind, Reggae Heart. As co-founder of Third World, Stephen Cat Coore expanded reggae's guitar vocabulary without loosening its roots. He's a melodist first, lead lines that arc like choruses, and an arranger who treats guitar as one color in a larger palette that includes cello, keys, and vocal harmony. In studio, he'll place bell-clear single coils where they paint the harmony instead of puncturing it. Live, he can switch from lyrical lead to rhythm anchor in a blink, or bow a cello line that deepens the song's emotional weather. Cat's signature is integration. On a tune like 96 Degrees in the Shade, his phrasing leans into the lyric, sometimes shadowing the melody a third above, other times answering with a short blues inflection that reads Jamaican, not imported. In the more fusion-leaning moments, he never abandons the one-drop compass. Odd chords and extended voicing still sit exactly where Family Man or a live bassist expects them. That's why Third World could stand on rock, soul, or jazz festival stages and sound at home. Listen for cello/guitar dialogues and intros and codas, chorus lift via carefully voiced double stops, lead phrases that land on chord tones the moment the vocal returns. Start here. Third World, 96 Degrees in the Shade, live for voicings and dynamics. Then deeper album cuts to hear how Cat's arranging mind keeps the band's identity cohesive across eras. If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.